The dry grass trembled under the faint rustle of wind and movement. A young lion lay near the riverbank, motionless except for a shallow rise and fall of its chest. A thin moan escaped its throat, interrupted by uneven, labored breaths. Its left paw was twisted unnaturally, claws scraping against the dirt, leaving faint streaks of blood that shone faintly under the afternoon sun. He froze a few meters away, studying the lion's posture. The ears twitched with every distant sound, the snap of a twig, the soft whistle of the wind, the subtle calls of birds settling on nearby branches. There was a wary intelligence in the lion's half-closed eyes, a quiet questioning of the intruder in its space. They said not to go closer, he murmured under his breath, more to steady himself than for anyone else. Every muscle in his body tuned to the lion's movements, every slight twitch or shift in weight a signal to adjust. The savannah stretched around them, rolling golden grass, the distant line of acacia trees, and the soft shimmer of the river reflecting sunlight like scattered gems. Step by deliberate step, he approached. Each footfall was measured, soft against the earth. The lion's breathing quickened slightly, a shallow hiss escaping its throat as he knelt to examine the paw. The snare had cut deeply, leaving the flesh raw and swollen, veins faintly darkened beneath the skin. He dabbed the wound gently with a clean cloth, murmuring quiet encouragements. The lion flinched but did not flee, its gaze flicking to him and back to the ground, testing the space between them. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. Dust swirled around his knees as he worked, lifting the wire carefully, ensuring no sudden pressure caused more pain. The lion's body remained tense but restrained, every muscle coiled yet still, communicating in ways that did not need words. His own heartbeat pulsed in rhythm with the creature's slow breaths. At last, the snare gave way with a faint, metallic snap. Relief washed over him, tempered by caution. The lion lifted its paw tentatively, placing it on the ground, testing its weight. Its muscles rippled as it stretched, flexing its claws against the dirt, a quiet, deliberate assertion of regained freedom. The man stepped back slowly, giving the lion space, letting it reclaim the wild it had been temporarily denied. The young lion's gaze lingered for a heartbeat longer than expected. There was no recognition as humans understand it, only a silent acknowledgement, a measured trust earned in patience and calm. Then, with a grace tempered by injury, it turned and limped through the golden grass, each stride deliberate, moving toward the distant horizon where the river met the late afternoon sky. He sank to the ground, letting the weight of what had passed settle into him. The wind carried the faint scent of dust and sun-warmed fur. Birds called from the treetops, and the river whispered its steady song. No applause, no words of praise, only the quiet hum of life resuming its rhythm, and the lasting impression of connection that would linger long after the lion had disappeared from view. The grass shimmered under the morning sun when a low, soft growl rolled through the clearing. The mother lion emerged from the tree line, her sleek form moving cautiously, each paw pressing lightly into the earth. Her golden eyes were fixed on the young lion, chest rising and falling with its shallow breaths. She stopped a few meters short, body tense, nostrils flaring as she caught the scent of the human nearby. He remained still, dropping slightly to the ground, hands open and empty, careful not to startle her. The wind carried the faint metallic tang of the snare, the lion scent mingling with dust and the earthy smell of the savannah after last night's rain. The mother shifted her weight, tail flicking with restless energy, ears twitching to every distant sound, the croak of frogs near the river, the chatter of birds in the acacia above, the whisper of grass under unseen feet. "She's worried," he whispered, almost to himself, voice soft as the morning breeze. He took no step forward, letting her choose how close to approach. The cub made a tentative stir, paw trembling, eyes half-lidded, responding to the mother's presence with cautious recognition. Time stretched. The man's pulse matched the rhythm of the cub's breathing, the silent negotiation between mother and human an invisible thread. Every minute, the mother edged slightly closer, nose lowered, eyes never leaving the injured cub. Her body language spoke in the language of patience, tension slowly giving way to cautious hope. Finally, the cub pushed itself upright, testing the air with a soft whine, a subtle sound of relief. The mother's ears twitched, she took a careful step forward, then another, closing the distance without force. Her nose brushed against her cub's paw, a delicate, affirming gesture. The cub responded with a tiny, hesitant nuzzle, muscles relaxing just enough to let the tension drain away. The man exhaled softly, a whisper that seemed to drift on the warm wind, "It's okay. You're safe." No more words were needed. The lion's eyes met his briefly, measuring him, then returning to one another. As the sun climbed higher, the mother guided the cub away from the riverbank, each step measured, cautious but steady. The cub leaned into her side, limping slightly but moving with newfound confidence. Dust swirled around them, golden in the sunlight, as if the earth itself celebrated the reunion. He remained behind, knees pressing into the warm soil, watching them fade into the tall grass. The soft rustle of the savannah carried the echoes of quiet trust and survival. No cheers, no gestures of triumph, only the lingering sense of having witnessed something fragile, delicate, and enduring. The mother paused once, casting a glance over her shoulder, eyes lingering on him for the briefest moment. Then she turned, cub close, moving with the grace of creatures born to the wild. The clearing returned to its quiet rhythm, the whispering wind, distant calls of birds, the steady pulse of life continuing uninterrupted. The wind shifted, carrying the dry, warm scent of earth and fur across the tall grass. The young lion crouched low, testing its muscles after the recent injury, ears flicking at every subtle sound. The mother stood a few meters away, vigilant, her head raised, nostrils flaring. The savannah felt alive with quiet tension, distant calls of birds, the crackle of twigs, the faint hum of insects weaving through the air. He remained crouched behind a sparse clump of bushes, watching. The cub's steps were hesitant, paws pressing cautiously into the soft earth, testing balance and strength. Its breathing was measured, steadying itself with each step. Small tremors ran through its legs, a reminder of the pain that still lingered, but determination shone in its amber eyes. A sudden rustle in the grass froze both lions. A lone hyena, curious and bold, emerged from the shadow of an acacia tree, eyes glinting with cautious interest. The mother's body tensed, tail stiff, growl low and deliberate. The cub froze, muscles coiled like springs, unsure whether to flee or fight. The man remained still, hands open, exhaling slowly. He knew any sudden movement could provoke panic. Instead, he whispered softly, almost like a prayer carried on the wind, "Stay calm, it's okay." His words had no dramatic power, only a calm presence that seemed to extend across the clearing. The hyena hesitated, eyeing the cub, sniffing the air. The mother's low growl deepened, a warning rumble vibrating through the earth. The hyena retreated a few steps, then paused again, weighing the risk. The cub, emboldened by its mother's posture, flexed its paws and stepped forward slightly, ears flattened, tail flicking in controlled defiance. Minutes passed like hours. The hyena finally turned, disappearing into the distant grass, leaving only the whispering wind and the quiet pulse of life. The cub exhaled, a tiny hiss of relief, leaning into its mother's side. She nudged it gently, encouraging the small but vital steps toward independence. The man allowed himself a slow breath, feeling the weight of witnessing life reclaim itself. Around him, the savannah sang softly, the rustle of leaves, the distant murmur of a stream, the faint hum of bees among wildflowers. Each sound reminded him that life was moving forward, fragile and beautiful, with its own rhythm. By midday, the cub was walking steadily, still limping slightly but more confident. The mother's eyes never left her young, alert to every shadow, every movement, guiding without force. They moved together across the golden grass, a silent dance of survival and trust. He rose slowly, taking care not to draw attention, leaving them to their world. The cub paused once, glancing back toward him with a fleeting look of recognition, then returned to its mother's side. Dust swirled around their paws, catching the sunlight, and for a moment, the world felt suspended between fragility and resilience. The clearing fell quiet again, except for the faint murmur of the river nearby. The man watched until both lions disappeared into the rolling grasslands, carrying the lessons of patience, trust, and courage with them, and leaving him with the memory of a bond that would last forever. The morning air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of wet earth from last night's rain. The young lion padded cautiously across the golden grass, paws sinking slightly into the soft soil. Its mother followed at a short distance, head low, muscles coiled like springs, eyes constantly scanning for threats. The cub stumbled over a hidden root, letting out a soft whine as it lost balance. Its ears flattened, eyes wide with uncertainty, body frozen in hesitation. The mother stepped forward immediately, her nose brushing against the cub's shoulder, a quiet gesture of reassurance. He watched from behind a clump of acacia, breathing shallowly to avoid startling them. Every movement was measured, every sound carefully noted, the distant buzz of insects, the faint rustle of grass, the gentle lap of water from the nearby river. The world seemed suspended, waiting for the cub to regain its footing. "Steady, steady," he murmured softly, voice barely audible, a gentle encouragement carried by the wind. The words had no human authority here, they were only a quiet presence, a thread of calm. The cub shook its head, flexed its paws, and slowly began to move again. Its steps were unsteady, but determination glimmered in its amber eyes. The mother mirrored its movements, pacing alongside without rushing, allowing her young one to regain confidence. Each careful step, each hesitant paw, was a lesson in patience, trust, and resilience. Minutes passed. The cub ventured toward a patch of taller grass, sniffing, ears twitching at every sound. Its small body pressed low, cautious but curious, exploring the boundaries of its world. The man remained perfectly still, a silent observer, aware that even the slightest motion could break the fragile trust he had built with them both. Suddenly, a flock of birds erupted from the branches above, wings flapping and calling loudly. The cub froze again, muscles taut, tail flicking in alarm. The mother's eyes locked onto the source of disturbance, a deep, low growl vibrating through her chest. The cub relaxed slightly at the sound, learning to read the cues of safety from its mother's calm authority. The sun climbed higher, casting long, golden streaks across the savannah. Dust swirled gently around the cub's paws as it walked, ears twitching, tail held high with cautious pride. The mother followed, vigilant yet patient, guiding without force, teaching without words. He exhaled slowly, letting the quiet of the savannah wash over him. The soft hum of insects, the distant murmur of the river, and the whispering wind became a symphony of resilience and life. The cub's trust, fragile yet growing, had begun to extend even toward him, in the measured acknowledgement of his presence from a safe distance. By afternoon, the young lion had ventured further than before, exploring the small valleys and dips of the terrain, while the mother remained close, her body language a constant guide. The man stepped back slightly, letting them occupy their world, feeling a profound respect for the delicate balance of independence and protection. As the shadows lengthened, the cub returned to its mother, leaning against her side, muscles relaxing after a long day of cautious exploration. Dust hung in the air, shimmering in the golden light, as if nature itself held its breath in reverence for the quiet triumph of trust regained. He watched until both lions disappeared behind a rise in the grassland, leaving only the gentle rustle of grass and the soft murmur of the river. No words were spoken. No applause was given. Only the lingering sense of having witnessed life's fragile, enduring bonds, a memory etched into both his heart and the rhythm of the wild. The air was heavy with the scent of dry grass and distant rain as the mother lion led her cub across the rolling savannah. The young lion's steps were steadier now, muscles flexing with confidence, tail flicking with measured curiosity. The world around them seemed alive in subtle ways. The soft hum of insects, the low whistle of the wind, and the occasional rustle of leaves whispered through the golden plains. The cub paused at the edge of a small rise, sniffing the air, ears rotating to catch sounds far beyond human reach. The mother stayed close, her head lowered slightly, eyes scanning the horizon. Each careful movement conveyed both protection and the quiet expectation of independence. He remained at a distance, kneeling among the grass, letting the lions occupy their world. The cub's amber eyes flicked toward him for just a heartbeat before returning to the mother's side. No growl, no sign of fear, only a measured acknowledgement, a gesture of trust earned over days of careful patience. A soft breeze stirred the dust around their paws, golden motes drifting like tiny lanterns in the sunlight. The mother nudged her cub forward, guiding it toward a distant patch of shade beneath scattered acacia trees. The cub stepped lightly, pausing occasionally to test its strength, to stretch and flex, to feel the rhythm of the earth beneath its paws. "They are ready," he whispered, barely audible, voice blending with the wind. The words felt unnecessary, the moment was clear in the quiet dignity of their movements. The cub mirrored the mother's confidence, each stride stronger than the last, slowly bridging the gap between dependence and self-assurance. The sun dipped lower, casting elongated shadows across the undulating grasslands. Dust swirled in the light, sparkling against the amber and tawny fur of the lions. They moved together, a small family unit navigating the vast wild, their steps deliberate yet free. The man rose slowly, hands relaxed at his sides, careful not to disturb the fragile harmony. He took a final step back, allowing them to vanish into the golden horizon. The cub glanced once more, a fleeting flicker of recognition, then returned to the mother's side, disappearing over the ridge as the light softened into shades of orange and rose. Silence fell across the clearing, broken only by the whisper of the wind through the tall grass. The river nearby murmured its gentle song, reflecting the colors of the sunset. The man sank to the ground, letting the beauty of the moment fill him, the trust, the patience, the quiet triumph of connection without intrusion. Above, birds winged homeward, calling softly to one another as the shadows stretched and merged with the earth. The savannah seemed to hold its breath, honoring the fleeting intersection of human presence and wildlife. He rose, dusting his hands and shoulders, carrying with him the memory of eyes that had watched, tested, and ultimately allowed trust to blossom. The cub and mother lion had returned to the wild, yet their presence lingered in his heart. The golden plains stretched endlessly ahead, the promise of survival and freedom echoing softly in every rustle of grass. And in that quiet moment, he understood a truth older than words, that the deepest bonds are often silent, earned through patience, respect, and unwavering care.